Welcome back to Guitalele tutorials. Today we are going to learn a new technique for which we can play these beautiful tonal chords or beautiful tonal chord progressions, right? And along with that we will also learn 3 new chords, and in our next video we'll learn about one more chord that we'll employ to learn a new song. How to play with a new song. So I'm not revealing the song name and what the chord and everything is at this point, but yeah, definitely you will get one more with that, okay, in the same line. Okay, anyways, so the technique that I was talking about is a stuck finger technique. So what we do is that we basically stick this 4th finger and 3rd finger together. Okay, so wherever they go as one single set. Okay, and right now you can see that I have placed my 4th finger on the 1st string or the thinnest string and the 3rd finger on the 2nd string, right? So this may be a bit unusual because this is something that we haven't practiced yet, or we haven't learned anything along with this line. So you will again get a finger pain on the 4th finger if you haven't used it earlier in any of the sets. And if I remember correctly, I think I also have shown one version of C major chord where we are employing this stuck finger technique, right? So where we play the versions where we just stick these two into the 1st and 2nd finger, and the top 2 strings I am pressing with this 1st and 2nd finger, right? So this was one thing that I think I have already shown. If not, we'll cover it once again here. Okay, so then the first thing comes is that C chord. Okay, so it's again a C major chord only, but a different variation. So we call it chord voicings, right? So it's a different voicing on the C major chord, right? So if you remember, our C major chord is something like this. So where we are pressing the 3rd fret of the 1st string with the 3rd finger, and the 3rd fret of the 6th string with the 2nd finger, and the 2nd fret of the 5th string with the index finger, right? So these are the 3 notes that we are playing. And now if you have followed my other lessons, you can also name the notes here, right? So we are playing C on this, E on this, and then this is open G, open C, and then open E, and then again we are playing C. So the C major chord, G, C, E, these are the 3 notes that we are playing, right? So in this new voicing or in this new version, what we are doing is that we are still playing the same C note and the E note from the thickest 2 strings, or the bass string and the 2nd bass string, right? So we are still doing that, and we are leaving open the middle 2 strings as it is. So it is G, it is C, right? So we are basically playing G, E, G, C, right? And then here also we are playing G, C, right? So this is G and this is C, right? So this is my C, this is my G. So again we are playing just the same G, C, E, but we are employing a new voicing on top of the pretty old C major chord, right? If you are familiar with Indian instruments, so it may sound something like what you call the tanpura, right? So, and in fact it actually can be played as a tanpura, and it will give you the drone effect where you just play 2 notes, G and C. So if you remember another version of C major chord where we are not even using this index finger and we are muting this 5th string, if you remember that C major chord, then it's we are practically removing this E note altogether from the C chord, and then you can get a very good drone effect as well. So this is the version that we usually use, right? So now let's give it a listen. So this is the C major chord we have been playing till now, or maybe some Some people have adopted this version of the C major chord where we don't even use the index finger now. So just the third fret of the first string and third fret of the sixth string, muting the fifth string, that's it, right? So this is another version of the C major chord that we have talked about or that we have learned earlier, right? So these are the two versions of the C major chord that maybe most of you have adapted yourself with, right? So one is this and another one is this, right? So they sound almost similar. So now we are just learning one more, and we also have gone through this version of the C major chord earlier. So if I am remembering correctly, so we already have gone through this version of the C major chord, so where you will get some kind of drone effect, and it's really beautiful to listen. So give it a listen once again. So I'll just play side by side both of the chords. So the normal C major chord, right? And now this version of the C major chord. You can listen to these thin notes of G and C playing together. So that two note actually makes a very good harmony. Why it happens, how it happens, there is whole lot of theory going together, so we are not going there. But yeah, this definitely is a lot different in our ears. Okay, so this was another version of the C major chord, the stuck finger version of the C major chord. Now if you even lift this index finger from the same position and you just use that second finger to press and mute the fifth string, press the sixth string and mute the fifth string, you will get another version of C major chord, right? And that is actually a very drone kind of effect that it gives. You just give it a listen. So you can continuously play along on any of the C major scale songs. So you can simply use this drone and you can sing, or you can play a melody. You can even use another guitar or guitalele or ukulele to actually play the other chords instead of, so this will just work like a drone. Okay, and then on top of it you can make a band of let's say 3 or 4 players, and then someone can play ukulele, someone can play guitar. You can just get this C major that C scale drone effect, right? So that gives a beautiful musicality of the whole song. Okay, so this was one particular chord, the stuck version of C major chord. Now you just put your fingers one string lower, right? Just like this. So instead of sixth string and fifth string, you are just doing the fifth string and fourth string. Now you get F add 9 chord. Okay, and in many cases you can actually use this as substitute of the F chord. So if you give it a listen, so two things you can do for the topmost string. So we are not playing the topmost string, so you can either mute it, right, through the tip of your second finger, or you can simply ignore that string while, or you can simply skip that string while playing. I mean, if you have played F major chord earlier or D minor chord earlier, you should get habituated to this, that whenever you are strumming or you are playing the C major chord, you play all the 6 strings. Whenever you are playing D minor or F major chord, you are playing just from the 5th string, and G major chord or E minor chord, you are just playing the 4th string, 4 strings, the bottom 4 strings. Or you can even do a little more advanced version, and you can simply mute the 6th string with your tip of the second finger and just play the 4th string with your index finger, the second fret of the 4th string. Just the same thing, you are just going one string lower, right? So, and the two stuck fingers are still remaining in the same position, so there is no change. So you will get a good anchor grip there as well, so you don't need to change much while you are playing the C major, F major and G major chords. So this is F add 9. Remember one thing, it doesn't play always good with in substitute of F major, but in most of the scenarios it will work fine. You can substitute your F major chords with F add 9. So don't get scared with the numbers and these big chord names. So it's pretty simple to play. You just need to get your pen sorted out in the little finger. So because this is something new for us, new for all of us, so it will, for the first few days it will definitely get some pain. You will definitely get some pain, but you won't feel much because you already have gone through all the other 3 fingers by this time. Okay, so that is one thing, and you already know all the tips like pressing hot water marks or basically rubbing credit card edges on your fingers. You know all these tricks by this time, so it will be pretty easy for you, and the best thing to go away with the pain is just practice. Okay. So that is F add 9, sorry, the substitute of F major chord. I will also show you one more chord, that's G sus4. So that's suspended 4th chord. Okay, so these names and all, it has something to do with music theories and all, but you just see that what's going on here. So you just hold the G chord first, okay, like we used to do, right? So the G chord, simple G chord, and you just add this 4th finger to the 3rd fret of 1st string. You will get a G sus4 chord, and by this time you know that this holding doesn't basically do anything. This 2nd finger holding in the 2nd fret of 1st string, it doesn't do much. I think it's easier to keep that finger there instead of just dangling this finger around. And okay, so that's G sus4. Okay, just the same 4-string strum, okay, like we used to do for G major chord as well. So from here, that was G sus4 chord, right? You can play G sus4 like you would play G, but again it may sound good for some songs, it may not sound good for some songs. If it sounds good, just use this one instead of the G major chord, right? So you can use the G sus4 chord as well, right? And if you see this this pattern going C, F, G, and if the song has that that good vibe with these chords, just use these 3 chords instead of normal C major, F major and G major chord, right? So we got 2 more chords on our arsenal and 1 more technique on our arsenal. So it's basically a technique we are learning. It's new technique for us, so holding 2 strings together, and we can even apply the same thing to some other chords also. That we'll come to know when I'll be there. Okay, so hope this helped, and happy playing.